I have to ask this. I hate to interrupt you. We have a question we want to ask about what happened to you in 2016 with this Bernie Bros movement, where your followers are seeing they have a racism problem, a misogyny problem. Do you think that's a super PAC thing behind that?
That was the Democratic establishment. That was the.
Wow. Okay.
That was just, they were sitting there. We had a lot of young people. We had people of color, and they create this kind of myth with the help of the corporate media and all that stuff.
It's kind of interesting to that note is during this election, the podcast space, which the Democrats largely avoided, they feel had some influence in the election, and they started to label us the podcast bros. And said that we were sexist and we were racist and bigoted. It's almost like it's the exact same strategy to get you out of there.
Yeah, that's what the liberal elite China does. They run away. Look, again, I would hope that everybody who's watching the program is that we as a nation have got to end all forms of bigotry, right?
Yes.
That I start off as a basic assumption.
Unless it's to your close friends, right?
Yeah, whether it's racism or sexism, homophobia, or xenophobia, whatever it is. And liberal Democrats talk about that all the time. And then you get to what we call identity politics.
Yeah.
That you're black, you're wonderful, you're tremendous, you're gay, you're the greatest human being on earth.
Yeah.
And rather than say, what do you stand for?
Exactly.
Gay, that's fine, who cares?
Yeah.
But what do you stand for?
Yeah.
Is every gay person brilliant and wonderful and great? No, of course not. Everybody's a human being.
Yeah.
So the issue is what you stand for, which gets you back to what we discussed earlier, class politics, in the sense of which side are you on? Are you going to stand with working families? Are you going to raise the minimum wage to a living wage or not? Are you going to fight to guarantee health care to all people or not? Are you going to demand that the wealthiest people start paying their fair share of taxes or not? Those are the issues. And no one cares what color you are, what your gender is, et cetera, et cetera.
Wow, is this really Bernie Sanders saying this?
Feel the burn.
Feel the burn. I think this is good and healthy for the Democrat Party because, as he said, they've overindulged themselves in identity politics and completely forgot about policies that actually help average Americans. And we know Bernie, he kind of appeals to the populist left of things, but at the end of the day, he is part of the establishment. He's been part of the establishment for a couple decades now, maybe more than that. So when they say this kind of stuff, I'm pretty suspicious because it's definitely not the policies that you run on, and it's definitely not the rhetoric that you stick to. This seems to be something like, I'm running for president in 2028.
Well, it's incredible what he did because he tried to paint himself yet again as an outcast when he is one of the liberal elites. The guy owns multiple homes. He's been in Congress, like you said, for decades. But one thing that was really interesting is that now Bernie's a classic socialist, I believe. He's an actual, classic socialist that believes in, we need to change the economy. The working class needs to own the means of production. It sounds like he's not vibing with this neo-Marxist class, which is all about identity politics. Because as he says, we got to focus less on that and more about the economics. So he understands that the identity politics lost the election. And I think he doesn't like that kind of politics in the first place if he really is like a classic Marxist socialist. But what's interesting is that's all AOC does. She only does identity politics. So if they're going to work together to have some kind of crazy democratic socialist ticket in 2028, how are they going to mend those together?
Exactly, right? AOC perfectly represents the critical race theories part of the Democrat Party. And Bernie, like you said, it doesn't seem like he's fucking around with this whatsoever. He's like, what? This isn't true socialism. Socialism focuses on class struggle, whereas these new Democrats have adapted socialist characteristics and applied them to identity politics, which makes them all look at society through the lens of race rather than class. And that's driven the Democrat Party to such a crazy place. So I think Bernie obviously recognizes that and says, hold up, we can't keep hyperfixating on race like the right, super right does. So maybe we need to switch some things. And he's gonna fail. It's no way to get to kind of get them back on course with true socialism, they're lost in the cause when it comes, lost in the sauce, not in the cause, lost in the sauce when it comes down to identity politics. And this is funny to me because the flip-flopping didn't help Kamala. I don't know why he thinks it's suddenly going to help him. Maybe he's not flip-flopping, but this wasn't Bernie, 2020. This wasn't Bernie leading up to 2024. This is like a nude Bernie Sanders.
Yeah, this is he's trying to appeal more centrist almost in the sense where, centrist in the fact that you have far leftists in his own party or the party that he claims to be part of. And then you have just the more classic liberals. It looks like he's trying to be a bridge between those two different people and those two different voters. But yeah, I just don't know how he's going to spin this, because think about it. We've never had the kind of change that we're experiencing right now so quickly. And if it works, if all this stuff Trump is doing works, it's going to fix the economical aspect of it. Then what is Bernie going to have to run on? The economics is gone. They're doing way better. You don't want to go back to Biden economics when Trump economics is working. And second, you don't want to go back to identity politics like Kamala Harris was pushing. So where do you even fit in at this point?
Yeah, and you can't suddenly become as a populist and open border individual like Bernie did at some point during he was running for the presidency. I completely forgot. He was completely anti-illegal immigration, and then suddenly flopped over to being pro-legal immigration, illegal immigration. He, like you said, the economy, if it's great, you can't run on that, right? You can't run on the identity politics side of it, and you can't run on immigration anymore. What are you going to run on? Universal healthcare? That's going to increase the price, the premiums for average Americans?
Maybe UBI, maybe some other thing that people don't hate yet.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.